Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Pulse, where we dive into the Microsoft roadmap so you don't have to. Today, we have with us is Adam and Tom. Jennifer is away today doing special work. So we're going to go ahead and get started. To mix things up, let's start with Adam and see what he has going on. We never start with Adam.
It's because I do all the nerdy stuff, so like we all like the chances of someone taking one of the things I'm excited to talk about are basically
Zero
and none.
So I'll start with one, and then we'll pass around, and if need be, we might come back. But I thought this was cool, and this is gonna be nerdy and technical. Microsoft announced on in development, although the scheduled release date is all the way out for calendar year 2023 in January. So like we're 2/3 of the way through the year, so not too far out. And this is for GCC, DoD, and GCC High. They're basically talking about doing a new Microsoft Information Protection under the Purview section of new basic credentials, SITs, which is basically them talking about the idea of adding new credential sensitive information types, which will allow your company to detect individual credential patterns, access keys, tokens, general passwords, etc. They will be offering a sensitive information type bundle that pulls the type of individual credential types for more holistic detection. So this is a cool idea. The idea is basically right now when you're going through and looking, you have sensitive information types, which are key to a whole bunch of stuff you do on the security side. So sensitive information type could be a credit card, and it will go through and look for a pattern to try to identify something as a credit card, or a social security number, so on and so forth. So the idea here is that rather than going through and being an algorithm to look for a known entity like a driver's license number or social security or credit card, it will look for patterns in user behavior that could potentially be their own passwords and information like that on stuff on credentials that they manage, which if you think about it is a super important thing to protect. You don't want someone going through and sending out an email to someone externally or something like that that says, hey, here are the credentials to log into a system or something like that.
Right.
That could definitely be very important, especially on the government side of information to protect. So I thought this was really neat because when I traditionally think of sensitive information types, like everyone else, I think of stuff like a credit card pattern or electronic healthcare. And the idea that they're developing a technology to extend it to stuff like this, I think in general is actually a really cool thing to see. And to me, almost even opens up the potential developmental framework of where they could take this type of technology and machine learning and algorithm-based detection to expand to even more stuff to protect your internal company information, which is really cool. So regardless of just the data type itself, which I thought was cool, this one really speaks to me about where the future of the development can go, which I thought was like just super neat and kind of like opened up my eyes a little bit to, oh, that's really cool how they're doing that. I wonder what's next type of a thing.
Great. Tom, what do you have?
So on Microsoft Stream, they are now going to allow you to edit the transcript text directly in the user interface in Stream on SharePoint. So this isn't classic.
This is so
Stream.
cool.
Yeah, this isn't classic Stream. This is the new Stream, Stream 2.0. So the feature also works with any videos stored in SharePoint or OneDrive for Business that contain transcripts. To edit a transcript, you must have edit permissions to the video. Transcript editing allows you to improve the quality of your transcript by quickly correcting minor mistakes such as misinterpreted acronyms, names, or incorrect punctuation, and changes in the transcript are also reflected in the closed captioning. So instead of having to do all that stuff afterwards and go back in, do it all twice, you're going to actually be able to do it from the user interface directly, and you can make the really quick changes. I know there was an infamous situation when I was with Enron where somebody was in a, actually the CEO was in a financial meeting with some different financial firms, and somebody kept basically trying to pin him down on something, and the CEO was just kind of like, well, and the guy goes, well, thank you very much. He goes, you're welcome. So it's like everyone's like, did he just say that on the call? And if you could have had the transcript just to wipe it out at that point, it would have been great. But by then it was too late. So yeah, this could be good to keep you from having those kind of things in a recording that ends up continually showing up in the news. So
Wow.
Go
And
ahead.
then I have one, Microsoft Teams, deploy Teams at scale for frontline workers. I thought this was really interesting because you can architect a bunch of teams and then deploy it and have it ready to go day one. So deploying Teams at scale enables your admins to deploy up to 500 teams. I think that's a little high, and adds 25 users per team. I think that's a little low, using one Teams PowerShell command and 2 CSV files. This allows admins to meet their organization's scale needs and significantly reduces deployment time. Oh yeah. Admins can also use this solution to add and remove members from existing teams at scale. I think this is brilliant.
Very cool.
Of course,
So
I don't get out much and I have no hobbies.
I definitely have two other nerdy ones that I think is kind of cool. So first and foremost, one thing that I'll mention is a new Microsoft Purview information protection thing. They are now going to be doing, as early as now, this is August of calendar year 2020, set up for everyone, and this is one of the biggest complaints people have in general. You are now going to be able to do co-authoring on encrypted documents, and this specifically is for your mobile. Right now, a lot of people complain if you go in and you add baseline encryption, which a way that you can do that is through Microsoft Information Protection. Once that encryption is there, co-authoring would traditionally break. And like why it's nice that you can go in there and encrypt a document, and this becomes relevant. A lot of the customers that I work with that have a compliance regulation that says documents need to be encrypted at rest choose to take this additional step. Now, there's an argument to be made that Microsoft encrypts everything at rest anyways, but because you are given a tool set where you can add baseline encryption to a document, a lot of my customers who are, for instance, in the defense industrial base space do this with their CUI information. And they have a label that if they label a document with CUI, one of the things it does is it adds a permission set that you have to be a member of their tenant to view it, which is adding encryption. But when you do that, it breaks some of the traditional collaboration and benefits you have of being in the cloud. So seeing them going through and working on this is super nice and super good, and something that, you know, is nice. It shouldn't be that you have to trade off on functionality and productivity in order to gain security. So it's nice to see them going through and addressing that again, set for basically right now. And then the other one, and this is, most people aren't going to care about this at all, but this is really cool. I've done exact data match. I've done a lot of testing with it. I think it's a super cool feature. I think it's something that more people will use in the future. Without getting too deep into all the technical details about it, right now you are capped at 5 unique searchable terms for exact data match. So say I have a data set of 50 items. I can have all 50 of those items be part of the data set, but when I am trying to identify the unique searchable content, so like the customer ID number, or the specific visit number for a hospital or something like that, the 5 things that I'm saying, these are unique characteristics that are specific to an individual instance, which are typically what you are triggering your actual EDM response and you know, data loss prevention response from. It's been capped at 5. So it didn't matter how many you had. You could always use all the other terms as related or supporting evidence, but your actual unique searchable terms was capped at 5. They're in the process of increasing that up to 10, which is just nice to see.
Cool.
Nice. Tom, you got anything else for in development, or should we move to rolling out?
One other quick one, and then we can roll out. Microsoft Teams, interactive large gallery. View up to 49 video participants at once, interact with them via actions like pin and spotlight, and observe their meeting activity like raise hands and reactions. I kind of thought that was already there, but apparently not. Due out in September, and it's coming GCC and worldwide.
Yeah, I thought that was already out.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be out again.
Now it's going to be really out.
Really out there. So.
Okay, that might have just been one that got missed.
Could have been.
All right, let's move to rolling out. I'm going to go first because I have one that I marked in orange. I was so excited about it.
Ooh, wow, the orange item.
All right, SharePoint automatically build visualization of list data with Power BI. How cool is that? Enables list users to easily visualize their list data in a Power BI report. The initial report is auto-generated, and users can also save that report so future visitors to the list can view the report. And this is supposed to be rolling out in August. To dun, 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 Power BI and SharePoint in DoD. Yes, thank you. GCC High and GCC.
Yeah, because that's been out in commercial for quite a while, but
I know, but now it's coming to my house.
I know you get to play with it now.
I'm very excited. Tom,
Very
what
cool.
do you have?
So a couple of things in Excel. Excel, track tasks with app mentions. So using app mentions and comments to create, assign, and track tasks within your workbook. And then Excel hyperlinks in modern comments. So you can add hyperlinks in your modern comments in Excel. So a little bit of Excel love going on there. The modern comments one, that's going out to everybody. The other one with the app mentions is just Excel worldwide, so only commercial.
And then Speaker Coach,
I was going to say, yeah,
in
that one. Yes.
Is now going to be available in Microsoft Team meetings. So you can go into a meeting by yourself and you can use the Speaker Coach to tell you whether or not you are an acceptable public speaker. So you can be judged by technology.
I'm really looking forward to this one. I could see myself turning it on for all the presentations I'm doing, because one, I'm the only person who's going to get that feedback. And I think to have that real time of, do I need to pick up the pace? Do I need to slow things down? Am I using too many type words? I just think that is a valuable thing to do at the time you're speaking, so long as you don't get fixated on it. And it just sends you down the rabbit hole of, oh, I'm using too many but I'm using, and you just kind of explode there. So.
Yeah, with watching the chat for questions and watching for raised hands, plus doing your live demos and your PowerPoint presentation, I think that might be a little bit much. It's like the first time I was driving my Prius and I couldn't tear my eyes away from the screen that showed what was powering the car, whether it was the engine or the battery. And I'm like, maybe I should be looking at the traffic.
I need a heads-up display for that.
Yes.
Okay.
Adam, what do you have?
These are just kind of silly. It's probably something I will never use, but I just like to see it. I think that's something that's potentially good as Teams makes further gains inside of the education space. But it's essentially two new OneNote features: Math Inc. Recognizer service and Math Solver service. The idea is if you have handwritten notes inside of your OneNote, so I've actually seen people use this pretty heavily. Say you have a tablet with a stylus where you can actually write. A lot of people actually can take notes in OneNote for that. And they've already used Lens and OCR and stuff like that to do recognition to try to make sense of the words that you're typing. So that way, like, assuming you don't have like terrible handwriting like me, it will be able to read what the writing is and then like make it searchable. So if you search for a keyword, it can find it. Well, the two new services being added are if you're doing handwritten notes and you do math problems, one will go through and help to interpret the math problem and actually solve it for you. And the other one is basically designed to allow students to learn the correct thing to do to solve it. So one is basically converting the handwritten ink in your notes to actual math equations. So if it goes through and says like, oh, this is 44 plus 26 divided by 3 or whatever it is, it will go through and interpret that and actually give you what the math equation would be if you typed it out. And the other one actually walks you through the steps of how to solve it. So again, think probably, you're talking about high school, junior high, elementary school. This is probably not something that, technically maybe they're going all the way to like differentiations and iterations and stuff, but I see this more as a tool for the education space, as something where they are leveraging technology and some of the cool stuff they've been doing with writing recognition and Lens and things like that to bring assistance into the classroom as a way to help kids learn. So again, I will probably never actually use this, but I thought it was cool to see the updates.
I agree.
Cool. Tom, you have anything else in rolling out you'd like to talk about?
No. Well, another one, which again is not something I will probably ever use because I don't have an Android device, but Microsoft Teams, intelligent translations in Teams Mobile. I know you do. We're a split couple. The wife uses Android, the husband uses iPhone. So Teams.
It's okay, we love each other.
I love it. It says Teams Android. Sounds like a group. You know, I'm Team Android. No, I'm Team iPhone. Teams Android will now prompt you to translate messages that are not in your language. So it can tell if you're doing English and all of a sudden somebody tosses out a French phrase in there, it's going to be able to say, hey, do you need a translation? Click on it and go. So I like the fact that they are providing for multicultural, multi-language environments, and to have it on your actual mobile device is really cool. So that's all I have.
That's all we have for rolling out. Let's talk about launch. These are things that should already be in your environment, and there's a big whopping one that's been launched. So we'll give that to Adam.
Sure. Yeah. So this one is basically a new update for the general umbrella of Microsoft Purview. So this is with data loss prevention and this customizable DLP policy violation justification. So this is basically the idea of when you go through and you need to violate the DLP policy, you can customize and replace now the out-of-the-box justifications with the organization's own text to better define the type and scope of override. So what this is talked about when you go through and create a DLP policy, when you're doing it, if you have user notifications turned on, you can basically have users go through and be able to provide a business justification. And so, for instance, I've used this for several things in the past. Maybe I have a DLP policy that goes through and says, all right, I'm blocking credit card numbers from being able to send out. But I create a separate policy for my finance team because maybe they have a business reason that they actually need to send credit card information. And so maybe they'll go through and say, okay, well, I'm going to send credit card information, but I'm in the finance team and I'm going to encrypt the data when I go through and send it. So you can basically customize that information and the justification that you're given to make it more specific to your use case. So it's not just a generic thing the users are going through and doing. So cool to see, just really making it so that if you are using the user override option to give them the ability for justifications, you're basically going to be able to customize this to fit your specific needs and put the language and the wording around it to fit your specific use case.
And this is all headed out to GCC, GCC High, and DoD.
Yep.
Fabulous. And then we only have one thing that's canceled, and that's in Microsoft Teams. Paging on video gallery for the web. It appears that this feature has been put into a different roadmap item. So don't worry about it. This roadmap item is canceled. Please refer to the roadmap item 86480 for this feature on the web platform and the desktop platform. So that is coming to an environment near you. Anyone have anything else that's for the good of the order?
Nope.
I'm good.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. We know you have many sources to get the roadmap information from. I'm glad that you choose us. Thank you for choosing us. All right. Have a good day, everybody. Bye now.